Welcome to Accessibility Insights, your go-to source for achieving document accessibility at scale.
Okay, hey, Joseph, how's it going? Welcome.
Hey, hi, welcome. How are you? I'm doing very well, thank you. It's very hot weather today. And how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's equally as hot in Toronto. So yeah, thanks for jumping on the call. I think we're both CEOs and of companies that have accessibility as part of our main vision and main mandate, and would like to learn a little bit more about what you do, what your company does. And so maybe we can just start out, just explain what this PDFix do and how did you get into, what inspired you to create this tool?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, we are a company, a small company with, we work with the PDF technology for more than 25 years. And we started as a small company doing, I don't know, Acrobat plugins and this kind of stuff. We went through a couple of projects, and maybe 10, 12 years ago, we actually identified with my colleague Lucia, we identified one big problem with the PDF documents, which is unresponsive view on the documents. And given at that time, it was like a mobile phone age where everyone gets a new mobile phone with a small screen. Actually, you had to pinch and zoom, and every time you wanted to read anything on the PDF, it was a big trouble. So we decided to do something with it, and we decided to make PDF responsive, which means we need to find a structure in the PDF documents. And here we all started. Basically, we decided to create a library that would be available for not just for the end users, but also for companies that actually use some kind of a mass production, mass consuming of PDF documents, simply something for high volumes that would enable working with the PDF documents in a different way. So we decided to look for the structure in the PDF documents, and at that time we built a library that is able to identify all the elements like tables, lists, paragraphs, headings, headers, footers, and everything like that. Basically, everything is now covered by what accessibility in PDF means to have a structure, except of other stuff that is necessary to be done, like fonts, like, I don't know, bookmarks and this kind of stuff. There is a lot of things that must be in the PDF in order to make them accessible. But actually, that was the key thing to make the PDF accessible. And at that time, it was really trillions of PDF documents on the web, publicly available, and vast majority of them was already produced without tags, without any content marks or anything like that. So that was actually a little bit the journey to PDFix, and here we are now. Yeah. And how about you? How about you?
Yeah.
What's your story?
So my journey isn't that long. So in accessibility, at least, we started Venngage about 2012. We started as an infographic design tool, very niche infographic design tool, easy to use. Typically, we target people who are not designers, so not people on the Adobe suites. And we, about 2 years ago, decided to rebuild the tool. And one of the main user requests we got was, can you make sure that the tool is accessible and the export is accessible? So we had a lot of requests from mainly governments and higher ed. And so when we rebuilt the tool, we wanted to sort of embrace the whole accessible design philosophy, where instead of fixing, I think your tool fixes the problems after the documents have been created. We are trying to fix the problem in the creation process. So we built all of these accessibility tools into the editor or authoring tool itself, and that allows the creator to just very easily do a few things, click here, click there, fix all the tags that you mentioned, the reading order, the colors, the fonts, not fix, but like actually pick the right choices as they're designing it and then exporting into a compliant format. So that's our journey. It's a much shorter journey. We are quite new to the space, so it's great talking to somebody who's been involved in PDF accessibility for a very, very long time. Yeah, maybe you can tell us, like, what are some of the challenges that makes PDF accessibility unique, like versus making like websites and other digital formats accessible?
Yeah, one of the biggest problems is that the PDF is considered as any other digital document format that is publicly available on the web. If you look at the website, you can easily see the structure. You can look into the code of the website. So basically, it is very easy to find actually the reading order, the also updates, the let's say descriptions of images and this kind of stuff. And that's the same for Word document, basically. And most of the documents that are available in the let's say publicly available have some kind of structure by nature. So PDF is not like that. PDF was created really in 1993. It was the first version, and originally it was a document format for printing industry. So pixel perfect preservation of basically all the focus on appearance of the document, regardless of what is inside. So you have no structure in the PDF. You had no structure in the PDF until 2004, something like that.
Right.
So it was a very long period of time when actually there was a huge amount of PDF documents generated without tags, and it was not possible to put into the document the structure. This was actually one of the biggest problem with the PDF document. Since then, PDF tags are available, which can define the structure. It was not widely used, mostly because the creation tools were not forced to create such documents until we got to, let's say, 2018 or something like that, when the first legal standards simply forced the companies to distribute the content in an accessible way. So the biggest problem, just to get back to a question, is the complexity of the structure and how it should be written in the PDF. And of course, the problem is that there is still a lot of PDF documents which cannot be recreated and exist and must be preserved as they are. Just the structure has to be added to the document. Of course, the big challenge for the creation tools is really to implement the accessibility stuff into the PDF creation process. So I'm not sure if your tool is able to cover all the accessibility standards and to put all the data into the PDF. If you have such a tool, then you're one of the best companies in the world, I would say, because there is really a lot of tools which simply a lot of companies who really it's still a lot of it would cost a lot for them to switch to new tools that would create an accessible PDF. So still there is a lot of documents created without tags, without any structure, and these has to be processed. So
okay.
So that's actually in a nutshell about the PDF. And what else to say? Basically, we have some standards that actually were well established. That's basically WCAG, but actually the standard which covers PDF especially is PDF UA, and that is the standard which describes everything that should be in the PDF to make it
right.
fully accessible.
Yeah, so maybe for some of our viewers who don't really know the technical side of like what tagging is and structure, kind of explain how that is important. Can you explain why that's important in accessibility, like for screen readers, for people with disabilities who aren't reading, the PDF, as like visually, who are actually relying on assistive technology or a screen reader?
Yeah, as I said, the PDF was originally created for printing. So if you look at the PDF, you can consider that as an image because every single letter is precisely set to position where it should be. And basically, you don't have to care about how it's structured and how it reads out loud. So this is the problem for blind people, but not just for them. I will mention that in a second. Basically, the structure that is represented in PDF must define what actually is a word. That's the basic, because even the word doesn't have to be a word in the PDF. It's just a set of characters that is placed somewhere, and actually you visually see that actually they're next to each other. You consider it as a word. this is not right in the PDF. Actually, this doesn't exist. So these words must be constructed first. Then you construct paragraphs. Then you construct lists based on the layout. You should construct also tables. You can imagine a table which is usually a set of random paths that are somewhere in the content, and somewhere else in the content you have a set of letters that are precisely laid out in some tabular structure. This structure must be found. Right now, there is a lot of tools which can help us in the identification of this structure, but actually all the information must be put back into the PDF in order to make it accessible. And then the screen reader can consume this data, consume the structure in order to read that for the blind people.
Okay. Yeah, great. So I think one of the interesting things that I think your tool does is that it can fix PDFs. As you said, the main problem is there's a lot of PDFs out on the web, out publicly, that have been created maybe 10, 20 years ago. But your tool is able to mass remediate a lot of PDFs at the same time. Can you talk a little bit about this problem of high, I guess, I don't know what you call it, high frequency or high volume PDF remediation, which is like fixing it for accessibility, to become more accessible. Like, talk a little bit about like what are some of the use cases your clients have. I don't know if you can share, a few examples of what types of documents that would be, and how you go about fixing thousands or millions of documents.
Yeah. Basically, you can imagine that also from your perspective, you as a tool, I presume that you have some prepared templates for the users, which they can use to generate the PDF documents. A template is very often used also for generating other documents like invoices, like, I don't know, bank statements, like orders or something like that. So there is a lot of documents that are in many cases created from the same template. They use the same font sizes, graphics, positions, just the data changes. And this is the typical customer for us, or one of the typical customers for us, because then we can very easily configure the processor in such a way that the user is able to define what kind of fonts they use, what kind of layout, what is the header, how the tables are structured, which objects can be simply omitted from the processing, and so on. This will give the user the advantage for automated processing of a large volume of files. And basically, if you imagine that the common manual remediation process of one page can take from, let's say, 30 seconds from very fast remediation professionals up to a few minutes, up to, let's say, 10, 15 minutes on the very complex pages, our processing is by average, let's say, you can count up to 1-2 seconds per page, which in this case is something that actually really saves a lot of time. And even though we will not get maybe the document into 100% state, it can save really 90-95% of time to the remediation company, or to someone who actually is looking for accessible documents.
That's very cool. I think, yeah, I definitely can relate to the templates part. One of the things that we do is we offer accessible templates. So these are templates that already have all the proper tags, have the proper structure, and so if our users are just replacing the text, like everything, although they're doing it manually, everything, and they export it, there's not much they need to do. It's kind of already accessible. That's very good. Can you tell me what are some of the what are the most, like, the biggest I would say mistakes people make when they're creating a PDF document, and that creates problems with accessibility? Like, in your mind, what is the thing you see your clients do like wrongly, when they're creating PDF documents, like in this automated feature?
Yeah, I see. Maybe I wouldn't call it mistakes. I maybe call it the lack of knowledge that something like accessibility exists. And I can imagine that actually that's exactly what your tool is also looking for very closely, which means that educating our clients or PDF user or users in general to generate accessible content means that actually they, even during the creation process, they need to think about who's going to be the consumer of the data of the document. As I mentioned, it doesn't have to be a blind person. It can be also machine processing, which means that you need to pick up some data, whether it's a publication which contains like opening hours of some business or something like that. Everything should be picked up and automatically processed or read out loud. So that's the way, actually, that's I would consider as the biggest challenge, really, to educate people what is important in the creation process. By the way, how do you preserve the accessibility in the creation process? How do you manage your clients to do this?
So I agree with you 100% that education is probably the number one thing that we have to do, because most of our users don't actually know about accessibility. So it's like, to your point, yeah, they're not making mistakes. They actually just don't know about it. It's more of a, they haven't been educated about it. And it's quite a shocking amount of people, like because we have the data around it. I would say less than 1% of our users actually know how to use know about the accessibility features and actually want to use accessibility features. So we embed a lot of accessibility features in the daily use of the tool. So something as simple as the color picker, which you use all the time, you pick the color, like we actually give you the contrast, the contrast ratio, and then we highlight it red and green. So it's simple. You don't actually need to know what the ratio is. You just look at if you pick something and we check the color contrast against the background. If it doesn't meet the accessibility standards, we will kind of give you a warning that says that, hey, it's low contrast. And then if you want to find out more, you click on it. And that's where we educate the users. We'll say like, yeah, why you need a higher contrast and what the standards are. So we have a bunch of things that are actually just embedded in the everyday use of the tool, which doesn't require you to know about accessibility. And that's how we've been able to educate people. I think from a document perspective, the most people usually know about colors. If you ask them like the structure and the tagging, it's all behind the scenes, right? They don't really know about that. What they do know is alt text, which is the alternative text, and they know about colors. Those are the two things that I feel it's an easy way to educate the user. So right now, if you upload a photo and you click on it, we'll ask you what the alt text, if you want to put an alt text or if you want to auto-generate the alt text. So we have an auto-generation feature, and then alt text. I think a lot of users in the website of the world are kind of used to that as well. So there's some familiarity with alt text, and then same with color and color contrast. There's some familiarity with that, and I feel like that's a good beachhead, good starting point to like educate users on the other stuff, on the other accessibility features.
Okay, so this was actually the description how an individual user can improve the accessibility level of his output. What about creating the documents at a scale from your perspective?
I mean, yes. So I think that's where, they would need a tool like yours. I think for us, it is a tool. Our tool is more on a user or manually created documents. For something that's creating at scale and automated, I think they would need, something like PDFix, where you have a solution that can, mass generate a whole bunch of a whole bunch of accessible PDFs. But that's not something we do, because our users are creating documents one at a time. Like we're like a PowerPoint or like a Word or like a Canva, right? So
but I can imagine that actually the number of documents that you produce is not just one or two a day. So actually you produce a lot of documents. So basically once you introduce your accessibility features and the output actually is accessible PDF, then actually that's the way to go for you, I believe.
Yeah, so the goal is to address the problem up front, right? There's like to address accessibility, in the design stage as opposed to address it at the remediation stage. So we want to train content creators or users to create content that's already accessible, so they don't have to rely so much on remediation, on like the accessibility teams, because those are limited resources, right? And we feel like if you build the tool well enough, it doesn't require a lot of it doesn't require a lot of extra effort. Like maybe it's maybe the first time it requires you to learn about what is color contrast, what is hitting what is a tag. But after
Yeah.
that, after you've done it once, like the second and third time, it should be very, very easy.
Yeah.
And the
what is,
tool allows you, right, to do it easily. Yeah.
yeah. And what is the typical feedback from the customers, from your users, when they see, okay, this image needs an alternate text?
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like the typical user from who knows about accessibility, they are really impressed, right? Because there's,
Yeah.
like you said, not a lot, even the Adobe tools don't have a lot of built-in accessibility features. They usually
Yeah.
have to use another tool like yours or someone else's tool to fix the problem. They don't, there isn't a lot of, I mean, I would say there isn't any design tool out there that has very good accessibility features in the editor itself. Like we're probably, like the ones that I know, we're probably the only ones that have a full functioning like accessibility checker, you know, that can then produce a PDF that is, you know, WCAG or WCAG compliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask you something about, since you're mass. So one of the things I think we often get is on the validation side, on checking whether, you know, it's one thing that we say, hey, it's accessible. What how do you validate, or how do you check whether the outputs are actually accessible? How does your testing process look like, since you're doing so many documents at the same time?
Well, this can be split to two parts. Basically, we have some built-in validation systems so that we can fix, actually, to understand what should be fixed. This we have built in our tools inside of the library, core library. But one powerful tool that we use is a PDF validation tool, which was built by under the wings of PDF Association, which is an association which collects PDF professionals and companies. And these we simply built a PDF validation tool which can be used as a command line and gives you the details about the compliance state of the document. It really contains a lot of check. It doesn't check just PDF UA standard. It can do much more, PDFA and other PDF standards, but we use that for PDF UA. And given it can be automated and can be integrated, we integrated that tool into our PDF editor, which is PDFix Desktop. And it automatically, instantly, you can get a feedback, or instantly you can see the validation state of the document during the editing. So when you open your document, you fix, let's say, text, you can validate that you see the problems with annotations, you can fix annotations, then you validate again, and you see the validation, see the problem with the metadata, let's say, which you can fix again. The validation gives you, of course, the validation report, which you can share with the customers and such. So this is one of the things that really help us a lot in automated processing. Of course, this validation tool can be set up also on the client side in case of, let's say, complex workflows of the documents where the validation state must be checked fully automatically. Again, this is our tool, our job to simply integrate this validation into the whole processing. So it can be first, our automated step can be checking if the document is PDF UA compliant with the validator. If it's not, then it can be automatically processed with our tool. Then again, validate it. And if it's still not perfect, still not 100% accessible,
Right.
it can be sent over automatically to some desktop workspace where it can be manually edited. But actually, it may happen that 80% of documents will pass through the first. Of course, each automated processing is not 100% solution for accessibility. And we always recommend to really manually check every single document. Right. If it allows you to do that, if it's possible to do that, we always recommend checking the document manually, because there are certain things that cannot be validated automatically. There is a good document which is called Matterhorn protocol. It's a set of checks. It contains approximately 150 checks, including color contrast, which you have, by the way. Right. It contains really 150 checks, and maybe less than half of them can be done automatically. All the others must be done, are recommended to be done by a human, which is actually the way we recommend this way as well.
Okay, cool. So the manual checks thing, I think we do the same thing. Like we also have a checker, and there's only so much you can automatically check, and then the rest are things that you have to obviously you have to get a human to look at it. I want to move on to the exciting things about the future. So are there any new features or updates or any trends in around PDF accessibility or in your tool that you're really excited about?
Yeah, actually, basically the PDF accessibility is evolving, and just recently, it was just a few months ago, the PDF Association together with ISO, I don't know, what is it, the ISO Standard Committee, published a new standards for new version of the PDF, which is PDF 2.0, and they published a new version of the accessibility standards. So that's one part. On the processing side, there is a lot that can be done, and I believe also your tools are already using it. For example, do you use the automated or AI-driven alternate text generation?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
one of the things actually that come to play, and it's not just for images. Actually, you can take a different AI models that can be oriented or trained for tables, for mathematical formulas. So there is a lot of things that can be improved. One of the things that we see is that almost every single client, every single document set that needs to be processed is somehow unique. So combination of various tools will be probably something that will be crucial for the future.
Okay.
And so because there is not one universal solution. So
have you
I
started?
believe that, yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, have you started integrating AI into your product?
Yes, definitely. We have a couple of small projects on which AI works pretty well. As I said, it's not a universal solution. It cannot be done like on all markets or all sites. But actually, it's really helpful in some cases. We must be careful because the AI is actually really depends on how it's trained, and actually not every single AI model is well trained, and actually but it's relatively good, and we see that there is a big improvement in how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, same here. I think even something as simple as image recognition, like alt text generation, it's still pretty good, but yeah, it's not 100%. It's I think now it's probably 90%. I mean, and 6 months ago it was probably 80%, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah. Okay, we have a few more minutes. I think the last question I asked you, which is something that is often a debate in the PDF, people who are in PDF accessibility. There's a lot of people who think like, oh, why do PDF? Just do HTML, just do and they there's definitely some hardcore people who will just want to ban PDF. I don't know if you've heard of those people. So what is your thought on that, like PDF versus HTML or just website? Like why, is that even a debate that makes any sense, for example? And what are your thoughts on it?
Frankly speaking, we are not experts in this area because we work with existing PDFs. But I would turn the question to you because you know how your users are generating the PDF document. And actually, you can see that creation process because we do not have a control over the creation process. We work with existing PDF, and they are there. So we actually don't have in most cases we don't know why why our clients or people decided to choose PDF. But actually, what's your thought on this? Why actually people try to publish PDF PDF documents instead of just sending over the graphics as an HTML or as an image?
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of I think the debate is kind of silly because that's like saying don't use any images, why don't you just write all text, right? Then you can always read it. It's kind of like that debate. So why do people use PDF? I still think it's a portable format, right? I think that's what it stands for, portable document format. It's still one of the formats that you can download. It's an offline format as well, which obviously a website, I mean, theoretically you can save a website, but most websites are not portable in the sense you can't download it for offline access. So it's still a format that you can use offline. So I think that's very important. And I think number two too, like it's a format that, everyone, it's a visual format as well. It's in a sense that it's not just all text. There's, like you said, could be tables in there. There could be a lot of things in there that, yes, you may be able to do in HTML, but I think the tooling right now, really, it's a lot easier to do it on a design tool or on a tool like ours, like InDesign. The creation process is so much easier because you don't need to learn how to code. You don't need to learn how to, the technical side of creating a PDF document is just so much easier. The barriers are so much lower. You can use a Word document. You can even use Word to create a PDF, for example. So I think that debate is kind of silly. It's like, oh, it's very difficult to make it accessible, so don't use it, right? I think that's a silly argument. I think it should be, hey, how do you make it more accessible? How do you make the process? What are the toolings you can use? And what are the processes and education you can do around? So that's my take on that debate.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for answering your own question.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I know, that's great. Okay, so before we end, I think what is so that people around and people who are hopefully listening to this, if they want to, what kind of problems specific your clients, what is your typical client? So we may have followers or someone listening to this who go like, oh, I am this kind. Let's say you mentioned invoices and bank statements. So I think obviously if you work for a bank and you need mass PDF accessibility solution, they can come to you. What other types of clients or other types of other types of clients should consider your solution, should consider talking to you? Yeah,
the large group actually is in education, which means that any material currently that is published or used on any school, university, is usually in a digital form. So that is probably one of the biggest. But also we have a lot of requests from the health industry because they publish very large of medical reports. And if we speak about, there is really huge amount of use, but actually also imagine that engineering, basically PDF became a document, as you mentioned, PDF became a most used portable document format for offline use, for sharing. It's ideal because you don't need anything else, and the preservation of the visual appearance of the document actually is retained on any device that you use. So that is the biggest advantage of the PDF and why actually people use PDF documents. So you can imagine any kind of document, even the small restaurant which is publishing menu for pizzas every week. So this is also a typical customer for us because everyone needs accessible PDF document and needs to be able to use data. So
okay, cool. Yeah.
Are you also? Are you also
actually?
Do you have some specific groups of people who are actually using your tools?
Yeah, so very similar, like higher ed or education, I think is our big. So whenever there's a big group of people who are creating a lot of content, usually ad hoc, so between staff, faculty, and students in a university, those are the kind of clients we get, and because our tool allows everything to be standardized, they can create and export everything that is in an accessible format without having to overwhelm the accessibility remediation team. So so higher ed is one of, and obviously governments, same thing with governments, every level of government. We have a few clients on both those segments. Yeah. So that's who I would say that have the most use for our tool, like people where it's a big group of people and lots of people are just not kind of ad hoc creating a bunch of templates and a bunch of designs, and they want to make sure that they're all, and then releasing to the public, they want to make sure that they're all accessible.
I must admit that.
Okay, I think we're running out.
I must admit that government is actually rolling machine, because actually now with the legislations, whether it's US, Canada, or European Union or Australia, the regulations actually come to place, and actually they simply must publish this kind of document in accessible form.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about regulations, but that's the motivation for the government. I mean, essentially, there's in the US, there's ADA Title II coming up, and enforcement, hopefully enforcement coming up as well. And so everyone's kind of scrambling, and I guess you know, without that pressure, they wouldn't be. I mean, unfortunately, without the legislative pressure, I don't think, you know, they would be as responsive to accessibility, you know, by themselves.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
So
Probably not.
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cool. So I think, you know, time is almost up. Joseph, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and you know, we should definitely continue this. You know,
Thank you very
again.
much. Thank you very much, Eugene, for inviting me, and maybe we can repeat sometime.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Okay.
and
So yeah.
I wish you a good day. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.